start recording right now.
Yeah, you're good.
So yeah, sorry I had to reschedule. I'm a reporter for West Virginia football, and we had
Gotcha.
media availability today. So I was like, oh no, I have to reschedule.
Gotcha. Yeah, no worries.
But thank you for working with that, and I'm excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, I'm excited. Love talking about this kind of stuff.
So I was listening to your podcast episode with the Mindset Experience, and I just kind of want to talk through how you got to the point where you realized that you were having panic attacks and what preceded that.
Okay. So just jump right into that.
Just jump right in.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I guess what initially I had no idea what it was, and I just felt like something was off, something was looming for a week or two, and my family came and visited when I was playing baseball, and I pulled my brother aside. I was like, hey, like, I don't know what this like feeling is, but like I feel like something's like off. And I didn't know. He's like, oh, you're fine. You probably just missed your family, a little homesick. I was like, yeah, you're probably right. Like, and like that was all he thought of it. That's all I thought of it. I was like, yeah, that's makes sense. Like, haven't been away from home for this amount of time in a while. So yeah, I was like, whatever. And then it didn't go away. And then that led to full-fledged panic attack. And then that just started an episode of panic attacks, and then just continuing to come for 2-3 weeks of just every day, maybe once an hour or once a day or every other day, just depending on what was going on. And and then I was lucky enough to have my mom, she's a nurse, and had struggled with panic attacks herself and has faced her like own struggles with mental health as well. So I guess she understood what I was feeling. I like struggled to like articulate it to her, but she could like pull it out of me a little bit. And she got me to doctors, psychiatrists, therapists, people that understood and helped her and she thought would help me. And luckily I had her, and she was a big crutch for me in that time and helped me get through it and learn about it. And I guess the big piece was the educational pieces. I didn't know what it was or what I was feeling or how to get it out of me or how to talk about it. And that's just what I've seen the most in my friends, other athletes, and other people, is just the lack of knowledge, I think, is the biggest issue.
So when was the first time that you had someone say, Spencer, you're a good baseball player?
It's an interesting question. Someone say I was a good baseball player. Someone said it when I was 9 years old. I didn't believe it until about junior year of high school. So I guess it took a while for me to believe it, and it took a while. I guess it came from a different person, and that's what gave it some impact. And it's all about, I think, who it comes from and not just the words that are being said.
So who did it come from at first? Was it a coach?
At first, it was just like parents of like other players and like friends, like, you're a good baseball player, like grandparents. Yeah, like they're going to support me no matter what. And I knew that. And I thought that was them just like loving me and supporting me. But then like I started to become, I guess, like an impact player and could like separate myself more in like high school. And that's when like my high school coach started to say it. And he was someone that didn't give out compliments easy and always pushed me pretty hard. But yeah, once he said that and I got some recognition from some other coaches, that's when I started to believe it a little bit.
So as you continue to get notoriety for your baseball skill, at what point did you start to experience failure in a way that would then later facilitate panic and anxiety?
I don't believe that it was failure that triggered it. I think it was more unresolved, just life situations. that I never, like, I try to just push away and just get through, that I never really faced. And more or less, instead of failure, but just more pressure, because I didn't really like struggle in my first year of college. I had a great year. My second year of college was another good year. And then after that second year is when it started to happen. And that's when you start getting rumors of the draft, and you go to the Cape Cod League, and that's a prestigious league where I'm playing with kids from all over. And that's when that pressure started to build. But I was doing well. It wasn't that it was failure. It was more like I thought this stuff would pass with success, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think that's what a lot of panic attacks come from.
Mhm.
It's like a perceived amount of success that is either unwillingly thrust upon you, or you just don't navigate well,
Yeah. You think like once you achieve this, it'll be good. Or once you have this title or win this or get this amount of money, everything will be good. But you go to sleep with yourself no matter what. And that's half the battle.
So how did the small margin of error that exists between succeeding and failing in baseball specifically impact you?
It's just learning how to deal with failure. It's accepting the failure. It's accepting that this is a really hard game, that you can do everything right and still fail. It's not like football where you can throw an interception, you're going to be back out there 2 minutes later with another drive. It's you mess up, you're sitting down for 20 minutes in the field thinking about what I should have done, what I could have done, and then you have to go back and refocus for another 20 minutes, where you can get 5 at bats that last all of 5 minutes in a 4-hour game. It's learning to just focus on those at bats, taking them each individual, and it's breaking it down from an at bat to even a pitch to even the next moment. It's so time consuming, but not, if that I don't know. It's such a long game and such a long season that you just have to break it down piece by piece.
So was there anything that kind of taught you, as you were learning the game, that taught you how to work through that? Or was it just kind of like, okay, I'm in middle school, or I'm in high school, or I'm in college now, and I have this handled, and it just kind of like happened?
Yeah, like I feel like I'm learning to do it now more than ever. And when this is my first full season and I'm playing 120 games this year, that means I'm getting 500 at bats this year, when my longest college season was 60 games. And like I said before, in college, I didn't struggle as much. And if you struggle for 3 games in college, it's a bigger deal, because that's 12% of your games. But if you struggle for 3 games in a 120 game season, that's nothing. That's just a blink of an eye. And we have 5 weeks left. That's 30 games left. And we're 3/4 of the way done the season right now. But these 5 weeks and these last 100 at bats mean just as much as the first 100. So it's just that constant keep pushing yourself and keep breaking it down to something you can micromanage and handle, and not try.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead. You're good.
I was just going to ask what kind of techniques you utilize in order to deal with that panic and the anxiety that happens.
Yeah. So what happens to me the most, like currently, is just the what ifs about the past and what I wish I could have done, which is obviously out of my control completely. And then the worry about the next. And say you get out your first at bat, and then you start thinking like, oh no, I'm 1 for my last 9 and I'm spiraling, and I don't want to go 1 for 10. And then the team's not going to like me. And then I get sent down, and then I get released. And then what am I going to do after baseball? And it's all just the spiral effect. And it's learning how not to go down that rabbit hole. It's just like in social media, when you click one thing and then you add and add on to that. It's the same thing. You just can't get in those rabbit holes where you just have to take it pitch by pitch, moment by moment, because once that pitch happens, there's nothing you can do about it. And it's just accepting it and trying to move forward and just live right where your feet are. So I guess what I do is I would get my breathing in check, because that's something you can always go back to. And that's something I've been working really hard at, is just the power of the breath can take you back to a moment more than anything than your mind's thinking.
So you mentioned in that podcast that you're hiding these symptoms from your Radford teammates.
Yeah.
Why do that?
Because there's still a stigma, or there was, or I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't ready to be open about it. And I was a 20-year-old, 21-year-old kid that was still worried about having friends, what people thought of me. Still do sometimes, and still battling that. It's being comfortable with yourself and being comfortable talking about it. And if people are going to judge you, who cares? And I cared in the moment, and I didn't feel comfortable talking to them about it. And then just slowly have grown and talked to more and more people about it. And like, the more I've talked about it, the more I've realized that more people are more like me than I think. And I think one of the biggest issues we have is that we all think we're so different when we're not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that every time a professional athlete, I mean, we put them on such a pedestal, you know, and so it takes athletes like Simone Biles and Kevin Love to come out and say, I'm really struggling right now.
Yeah.
And even still, I mean, they're champions, you know, and you still see the hate coming on Twitter and on Instagram.
Yeah.
So what do you, Spencer, tell someone who is in that former you place about the outlook of what they're dealing with internally?
Yeah, I mean, the way I always look at it is, imagine if someone came to your work every day, there was 1,000 people watching you write an email and were booing you the whole time and said, you suck, go home. And people don't think like that. They don't realize that, one, this is our job. Two, we're trying our best. Three, we've worked our whole lives to get here. We're so close, but yet so far. But yeah, we're humans too. And it's not, I'm at the microscopic level of professional sports. I know that. And I'm not by any means Simone Biles or Kevin Love, but they are definitely people that have opened the gateway, and they're unbelievably courageous to have that pedestal of being where they are and the following that they have, and to be able to step down from the Olympics is more courageous than doing her triple axel double flip that she can do. And the fact that she was willing to put herself first, even though that she worked so hard and to get where she was. And it's just the fact that she was able to do that. I don't think people are giving her enough credit for what she did.
Yeah, I completely agree. So let's talk about, I mean, in the same way that Simone had support from her entire Olympic team, you ended up having a lot of support from your teammates.
100%, yeah.
So what did that support from your perspective mean? And you were also talking about the fact that you had other teammates coming to you and saying, a family member is dealing with this, or I'm also dealing with this, help me.
Yeah.
So I mean, you totally changed the perspective of basically everyone around you by sharing your story. And that's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it definitely was not the response I expected. And I'm definitely lucky to have such great people around me that, one, felt confident enough to open up to me as I felt like I could to them. And two, that they, even though I remember I told my best friend at college and I was like, hey, like, this is what I'm going through. And he's like, I don't understand, but I'm going to be here and support you. And I can't relate. And I've never struggled with that. But he said, if you need anything, I'm here. And I was like, that's all I need, is just someone there just to talk to sometimes, and someone who will get me out of a funk. And that's And even if like you're someone that isn't that educated about what they're going through, but just being there and listening and talking and trying to understand is more than what most people expect and more than what they need a lot of the times.
So what did you need? I mean, what was the tipping point where you said, okay, I feel confident in my ability to handle this and I'm going to share my story with other people?
Honestly, it was the way people reacted. It was the support. It was because I could have opened up to one person and they could have said, stop acting like that, or shake it off, or stop being a wussy or something. And that could have just shut it down completely. But that's not what happened. And luckily it grew. And that just gave me confidence to talk about it more. And it's just kept growing. And then I've talked about it on numerous podcasts now. And I just want to continue to grow it. And this is something I'm so passionate about, and just want to keep just sharing my story. And hopefully if it affects one person and one person listens to this and it helps them, then that's better than any home run I've ever hit.
Are you sure about that?
So far, yeah, I'm sure.
So let's talk about your time in college. I mean, Radford is a good school.
Yeah, it's a pretty good school.
And then the Cape Cod League is an amazing program.
Mm-hmm.
So what did that mean in the trajectory of your time playing and then getting to the Blue Jays organization?
Yeah, so Radford was coming off a regional, a top 15 team in the country when I committed there. So I was really excited to go play for that program. And I was lucky enough to play as a freshman, had a strong freshman season, and that allowed me to start getting some recognition from like some scouts. And then sophomore year had another solid year, which got me to get more recognition from scouts and get me an invite to the Cape Cod League. And just being around that elite talent up there was unbelievable. It was eye-opening for sure. And just to be there and be able to talk baseball and see what they're doing and just learn from each other was a special thing.
So you were a freshman All-American at Radford.
Yeah.
How did that cement the way that the rest of your college experience went?
Yeah, I was definitely a lesser recruit. And if you told me we'd have someone in my class that was going to be a freshman All-American, I don't think anyone would have said me on day one. And I don't even think I would have said me, because we had some studs for sure. But yeah, that definitely changed how people viewed me a little bit. Instead of just Spencer, the baseball player, was Spencer like the good baseball player. And it was just different. And it definitely changed you, and people definitely put you on a different pedestal after that. But I wasn't a fan of it really, but it was what it was.
So then you get to the Cape Cod League and you're playing with a whole host of guys from across the country.
Yeah.
How did that change your perspective on playing in the professional league? Because you're essentially playing with the best in the country.
Yeah. It coming from a smaller school, it was definitely intimidating. And because Radford it's no Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Texas, all those schools, but we have kids from all over, like you said, from California to Florida. No matter where you're from, everyone goes there. And it's definitely intimidating seeing those schools like next to the name. But when you take that jersey off and everyone's wearing the same jersey, it definitely makes it a little easier that it's not Joe Schmo from Alabama. It's just Joe on the Cape Cod team. And it was really cool to put myself right next to him and see that I could hang with him.
So where are some of your friends from that summer league at now?
Yeah, so I have two roommates here with the Blue Jays. They both played in the Cape Cod League while I was there. They weren't on my team, but we played against them. Everyone on that team that was there originally is playing pro ball now in North Carolina with the Pirates or down in Florida with the Twins. They're all over.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about entering the Blue Jays organization and just continuing your baseball emphasis? I mean, because you could have not, you could have just as easily have gone and gotten a job right out of college.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy that I got the opportunity to do what I do, and I'm so lucky that I do, because I, I can't imagine being in the real world right now. I say real world as in having a like using your college degree and getting a job, because I don't feel like I was ready for that. And lucky enough, I didn't have to make that decision yet, and it wasn't too hard of a decision because I was lucky enough to get drafted. And yeah, the Blue Jays have been great to me so far. It's a great organization. I'm surrounded by great people, and there's no place I'd rather be than right here, and no life I'd rather live than the one I'm living. So it's a great feeling.
So, in order to talk fully about your time playing baseball, we also have to talk about the period of time where you thought that baseball was what was triggering your panic attacks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Was there ever a thought that I should just hang the cleats up and stop this?
Yeah, this when I left the Cape, I wasn't sure if I was going to go back to school and play my junior year. I just didn't know if that was causing it, because when I had my initial panic attack, it was on the baseball field, like I said, and so it was kind of like a PTSD thing where I was scared to step back on the field, and I was worried. And I remember my junior year in the fall, we had our first workout, and that was another place I had a panic attack, was in the gym, and I was petrified in there, and I was like, all right, I got through that. Now we got to get through the first team practice, and then it's the first team scrimmage, and then it was the first game. I remember I was sitting in my hotel bed right before our first game, our junior year, at East Carolina, and I was trembling. I was sitting there with my roommate, and I was like, "Who's my best friend?" I was like, "Dude, I'm so scared right now," but like, it was like a good scared. It was like I'm excited, scared, don't know what's gonna happen, don't know how I'm gonna feel out there. And I was playing a new position, and there was a bunch of fans that were heckling me the whole time in left field, but it turned out to be amazing. One of my favorite weekends. But yeah, I definitely thought about it, and I know a lot of other players have thought about it too. And I know now that I'm so glad I didn't quit, and I couldn't imagine quitting, because I'd never forgive myself.
So, in the event that you had decided to quit baseball,
Mhm.
I mean, you said that you would have totally regretted it.
Yeah.
So, why allow that thought process to own you in any way? If looking back on it, you say, I don't know what I was thinking. I could never have done that.
Yeah, but that's so easy to say now, knowing what I know, knowing that I was gonna get through it. But in that moment, when I wasn't doing well and I was struggling, I just wanted a way out. And if that meant quitting baseball, then I would have done it. And just, I didn't know what was causing it, and didn't know how to get away from it. And through like therapy and medication and just talking about it, I've learned that luckily it wasn't baseball, but it was numerous other things. And yeah, but in that moment, just that feeling of hopelessness and doing anything to get out is just the way I was feeling.
So, how did you unlink that feeling from baseball?
Through therapy mainly, just talking it out, getting everything out, and just doing a complete like rehaul of what's inside, and figuring out like, hey, there's some stuff in there that's unsettled, and we got to keep working on this.
So, what was your introduction to therapy? I mean, was it kind of immediate after you realized, okay, this is what's happening to me, I need to seek someone? Or was it later down the line?
So I actually with therapy when I think I was 12 or 13. Just because my mom and dad got divorced, and my mom thought that'd just be really good for me, and I didn't want to go. I was like, this is stupid. What am I doing here? I'm just a kid. But it actually turned out to be great. And after a few weeks of going there, it actually helped me a lot. And my therapist and I thought, we're good. I have some skills now that I can cope with. And so I was good. And then didn't go to therapy for 8 years. And then the panic attacks ensued, and I thought, boom, I got to go back to therapy because I know that's worked before. So let's just get back in there and do some digging and some hard work on that stuff.
So there is a perception of therapy being weakness, and seeking out someone makes you less manly or less able to conquer things on your own.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that first therapy session for your parents' divorce, I mean, that really paved the way for how you saw therapy going forward, did it not?
Yeah. See, again, my mother has been the saving grace in all of it seems like. And she knew that therapy worked for her, and we come from the same blood. She thought it worked for me, and luckily it did. But yeah, those first 2, 3, 4 therapy sessions are a lot of head shaking, a lot of okays, a lot of I'm fine, a lot of nothing. And it just slowly came out. And the more and more comfortable I got and build that trust with the therapist and getting the rapport that we needed, it just slowly got better and better.
So did Radford University ever have any sports psychology staff that you could go to as an athlete, or was it more like for all the students versus not having it at all?
Sports psych, they were starting it my junior year, actually. They were starting to get into it. So unfortunately, when I was there, they didn't have it, but I believe they have more of it now. But yes, they offered therapy for all students free whenever you want it in the student health center. But it was just hard to get in because there was 6 therapists for 10,000 students. But luckily I got in and was in weekly or bi-weekly sessions my junior year.
So if there was a sports psychologist on staff, would you have gone to that person instead?
I think I would have done both, not just one or the other, because I think mine wasn't just on the field issues, it was also off the field issues. So I think that is on the field, sports psych is great, but I think if there's other stuff going on in an athlete's life or even a person's life, that is just therapy could work too.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about on this podcast specifically about the difference between performance psychology and clinical psych.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a huge difference.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And so I think that you made the right decision in terms of what you were dealing with, because it didn't have anything, in fact, to do with baseball at all.
Yeah. So, but luckily with the Blue Jays, we have sports psychologists that are one on each team, and they travel with us and they help us with mindfulness and stuff like that to get us in the best headspace and help us with different techniques that help us during the game, after the game, and whenever.
So was that your first introduction to mindfulness and meditation, or were you already practicing that by the time you got to the Blue Jays?
I was doing some mindfulness and meditation my junior year, more mindfulness and trying to be where my feet are, some breathing. But yeah, I'd say the Blue Jays have introduced me to more like a sports side of it, sports performance side, and how to use it during a game and how to prep to get the best out of myself, more or less, I'd say. So
you also talked about proving your skill to yourself versus proving it to other people. Where is the difference? And how do you approach each one of them in their own specific way?
Oh, I said that. I don't like that I said that. Yeah, proving it to other people doesn't sound good, but um,
We were just talking earlier about the fact that you didn't like external motivation.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that I said that. But anyways, proving it to myself is one, much more important. Two, all I can do. But I don't make the end all decisions. I don't make the lineup every day. I don't I don't decide who plays. I don't control where I'm playing next year. I don't decide when I go to the big leagues. So that's when I believe proving it to other people is important. That I have to prove to the organization that I do belong here and that I can be a big leaguer one day.
What do you think the Blue Jays saw in you?
I think they saw a kid who was a good hitter, and that's about it. No, but I actually met with the Blue Jays before the draft and had a long talk with Colson Barbish, who was the scout that signed me. And he just picked my brain and we had a long, I think, 2 hour long conversation just about baseball, about where I want to go with it, what my approach, what I do, what I see myself as, and all that. And I think that was actually one of the best conversations I had with the team. And yeah, I think that helped a lot as well.
So, how do you become peaceful with your thoughts?
Ooh,
Because especially in sport, things are happening so quickly, and baseball is not exactly like that. But you were
yeah.
like you were saying, I mean, you may actually have action for 5 minutes out of a
Mhm.
3.5 hour game.
Yeah.
So how do you find peace in those interim periods?
It's just acceptance. I feel like is a huge piece, and just accepting what you can't control and the outside factors that are going to happen. And you practice so hard and just trusting that work and learning to let go and eventually just say, like, whatever happens happens, because I did everything I could that day. I did everything I could to prep. And if you didn't, that's the issue. The issue isn't in, oh, the umpire made a bad call or the fielder made a great play. That's not the issue. The issue is if you're not doing everything you can to be the best you can be. And it's just accepting whatever the results
And then how do you take control back from your own mind?
are. Through practices of mindfulness, like breathing, getting back to the moment, and just like I said before, trying to break each thing down and not listen to that inner voice that says, "Oh, you suck," "Oh, you're not good enough," or not listening to the fans that are like, "You're worthless, you don't belong." Yeah, it's just you just go back to, you got teammates around you, you got how to have a few people around you that you can always go to and trust. And when your own support isn't enough, you can reach out to them always. And I know I have a few people I can always call when I'm feeling down and just being hard on myself, and they'll give me a little pick me up or snap me out of it or something.
So where do you hope that the conversation surrounding panic attacks and mental health in sport as a whole goes, and how can we expedite that process?
I think the best way to expedite that process would be to just continue to talk about it and just continue to bring awareness and just share each other's stories, and don't be afraid. I hope it gets to the point where we're not just seen as entertainment and we're seen as human beings. And I'm sure a lot of people do see that, but a lot of people don't. And you see it all the time, and guys getting to their breaking point, and it gets ugly. But you have to just learn, one, how to deal with it, two, different skills on that can help you. And I think the more we talk about it, And the more not just athletes, but also humans get in touch with what's going on the inside and stop running and stop being in denial of their own thoughts and not being able to sit with themselves, that it'll get easier.
And then, I mean, where do you see your relationship with panic attacks and anxiety going? I mean, how has that relationship changed over the past 4 years?
Similar to baseball, it's been instead of a constant struggle and constant battle of I need to do well, I need to feel better. It's just acceptance and saying, this is me. Like if you had diabetes, you weren't going to go without insulin. So I'm not going to go without my medication that helps me. And I'm not going to go without my practices that help me. So I know it's going to be there. And I know it's something I'm going to have to work on always. And that's okay.
So outside of baseball as a stress reliever, what else do you have? I mean, like, say that baseball does eventually end for you.
It's going to end.
Point down the line, because it's going to.
It's going to end. I promise it will.
What comes next with your coping mechanisms?
I'd say reading has been a huge key for me. Just again, getting more educated about it. And I barely know anything when it comes to this stuff. I don't know nearly as much as you, I'm sure, but yeah, reading, journaling, those are two things that help me a lot. Going on walks, going on runs, exercising, that stuff has always been great for me to get me out of my own head. But yeah.
So what kind of books are you currently reading?
Right now I am reading The Body Keeps Score.
I have that book downstairs.
Do you? Have you read it?
I haven't yet. It's on the to be read list of mine.
To be read list, yeah.
If you look behind me, everything with the green dot is on the to be read list. So I have a while.
That's awesome. Now, yeah. I'm reading that one right now. That one is very, very interesting, very deep, very powerful, and causes you to take a peek inside yourself a little bit. So it's been good. I'm taking it pretty slow. So
I've heard really amazing things about that one.
Yeah, I'm about close to halfway done, and I'm enjoying it, but it's heavy. It's definitely heavy.
Well, what you've been through is heavy.
Yeah, but it's nothing compared to a lot of people.
But that's not a reason to downplay it. You know,
You're right.
They're your own feelings.
You're right. Perspective is everything, though. So I can't complain about anything.
So what has your shift in perspective meant for the way that you play and the way that you live outside of baseball?
I'm just grateful. I'm much more grateful. And like I said before, there's no other life I'd want to live. I'm living out a dream. And who would have thought the dream would be sitting in Hillsboro, Oregon, talking to Julia? But this is exactly where I want to be right now. And that's an awesome feeling. And I know a lot of people wouldn't say that, especially at 23 years old. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've had a couple minor leaguers on this podcast just because baseball, the psychology of baseball fascinates me.
Yeah.
And I just think that you have all been through so many different experiences that have masqueraded as baseball, but they aren't really. So in the same way that sports are a stress reliever, they're also like
a stressor.
A stressor, yeah, but they're like masked in it's another issue masked in the stress of sport.
It's we eventually have to do well or it's gonna end.
Well, here's to hoping that yours doesn't end quite yet.
Yeah, I hope not either. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Is there anything else that you think that I've missed about your story that you want to include?
Anything you've missed? It's a lot of hard work.
I couldn't be there every second. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of hard work, and yeah, I'm not just talking about baseball. I'm talking about figuring out who you are, what you want to be, and how to better yourself. And it's a constant work in progress.
How do you feel like your identity as a baseball player has played into you having these panic attacks, but also then working through them?
Identity as a baseball player.
Because
yeah,
people on this podcast do attribute a lot of their stress to their identity as a sport player in some capacity. So do you think that applies to you as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's how people at home know me. I come from Maryland, and I come from a high school that's a powerhouse in lacrosse, and baseball was seen as a backseat sport there. And so I was always the baseball guy. And yeah, it's just, have I thought about when it ends, people are like, he was the baseball guy and now he not is. Yeah, that's gonna suck, but it's reality, and there's nothing I can do about that. And yeah,
Well, how many years have you been playing baseball for straight?
since I was 3 years old, 4 years old.
So 20 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Last year was my first summer off, so COVID wasn't that bad for me.
So where do you feel like the limit is for you?
In terms of what?
Interpret that how you will.
Okay, I'll break that down. I think the limit in baseball is to be determined, because I haven't gotten to the point yet where I feel I don't belong. And I think the limit on my life is endless, because I'm actually listening to Matthew McConaughey's book right now, and he hit me with a good quote yesterday. It was, roofs are man-made, so don't put a roof on yourself. And so I'm gonna try not to do that, and I'm just gonna see where life takes me. I don't know where I'm gonna be. I don't know. 5 years from now, I could be in the MLB. I could be traveling the world. I could be sitting at a desk. I don't know where I'm gonna be, and that's the beauty of it, is you never know what's gonna happen, and just accepting all the struggles that come with it, because the struggles are what makes it great, and you find out who you are.
That's a great quote. And just to go over it again, is there anything else that you wanted to add or you think that I missed about your story? I just want to make sure that I have covered everything. We are done with the questions I had asked. And in case you had anything else you wanted to say or anything you wanted to plug.
Plug. Save the whales, save the turtles.
I'll put a link at the bottom of the show notes.
Save the turtle. No, I think I'm good. I think we did a good job.
All right. Your episode, I believe, is coming out in 3 weeks, 3 or 4. I am excited to just be able to tell your story, because I feel like a lot of people that come on this podcast talk about stressors related to sport and panic attacks. I just had an episode probably 10 weeks ago with a soccer player from Georgetown, and he was having incredible panic attacks, so bad that he actually took a break from the team.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I love this program, but I can't do this. Yeah. Something's wrong. I have to figure it out for myself. And it got so bad that he was thinking that he was going to quit soccer. Yeah. And then he just worked through it a little bit more, not completely, but a little bit more. And he came back to the team, and they won Georgetown men's soccer's first national championship. That's amazing. In PKs, and he scored one of them. Wow. And he was just saying, Julia, I have no idea. Like, I would have totally missed this. Yeah. Had I let panic attacks control me. And I just think that perspective coming out on the other side of the tunnel is so amazing.
Yeah, that's an amazing story, but I hate the term, like, I don't hate. I coming out the other side is so hard, because I feel like it's never ending. maybe that's just me, because I don't know, like he's definitely in a better place, but he's going to continue to have to work hard, I feel like, to keep
I mean,
growing and keep bettering himself.
do you feel like this is something that will continue to have run-ins with you throughout the rest of your life, or do you think that you're kind of working through it
Oh
currently?
no, I'm definitely working through it, and I'm definitely a lot better than I was. But I think it's something that's always gonna be there, and something that it doesn't just go away. It's not, like I said, I compared it to diabetes already. Diabetes just doesn't go away. It's just it's a disease that you can't see, and it's just something that the medicine isn't your typical insulin kind of thing.
I mean, some people don't take any medication for it. They
Yeah,
go and do their therapy once
yeah, but
every 2 weeks, and they
I'm saying therapy is a medication, mindfulness is a medication kind of thing, if that
for
makes sense.
sure. And I think that
Yeah,
that's really important to delineate as well, because not everyone needs therapy. Not everyone needs
yeah, no, no.
medication. And there are a lot of ways in which mindfulness and yoga
Mm-hmm.
modalities, very natural, can work
100%,
through that.
100%. Yeah, it's everyone's situation is very different. Everyone's brain works in a different way.
Do you think you have a good idea of how yours does?
No, not at all. I think I think I know what I like. I think I know what I dislike, but no, I think I don't know how my brain works at all. I think, yeah, I think the brain's very interesting.
Do you ever read any psychology specific books?
Um, I read, I'm more like Eckhart Tolle kind of stuff, like The Power of Now, or like stuff like that. I guess that genre is kind of like self-help books. I think that's what that genre would be, but no, I'm not more like sciency nonfiction about like the brain. No, I've never read something like that.
I have a couple, trying to find them. I have a couple really good suggestions.
What do you
I
got?
just I just need to find them. There are a couple, like one of the questions I really like asking a lot of my guests is, what are you currently reading?
Yeah.
I just think that that's a really interesting question because a lot of them are reading self-help-ish books.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just figure out what
I read, I guess one's like David Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow. I guess that was
I have heard so many people talk about this book and I don't have it yet.
that one is it's a thick read.
Is it?
I didn't get through it. I stopped halfway. Just, but it was good. I enjoyed it.
The Champion's Mind by
The
Dr. Jim
Champion.
Afremow is a really good
I,
one.
I read, yeah, no, I haven't read that. I read The Inner Game of Tennis and Mindful Athlete. I guess those two are similar to that, it sounds like.
Interesting. Let's see what else. Oh, How Champions Think by Dr. Bob Rotella.
Bob Rotella.
Mhm.
How Champions Think.